The backfire effect. Why facts don't always change people's minds. We often see this situation. Someone presents proof that goes against another person's beliefs. Rather than listen to the facts and change their mind, the second person rejects the evidence. They may even feel more strongly about their existing beliefs. This common error in thinking is called the backfire effect. When people see others presenting conflicting proof as challenging their beliefs, they usually react negatively. For instance, someone might not believe climate change is real. When shown studies and data, they still don't believe the truth. In fact, they reject the evidence and stick to their beliefs even more than before. Changing other people's beliefs is difficult, but not impossible. Stating more facts to prove the person wrong won't help. Instead, ask the other person questions that make them reevaluate what they believe. Provide evidence in a way that allows people to think in a critical way, not an emotional one. This way, they'll have the chance to reach a new conclusion on their own. Don't let the backfire effect influence you either. When you learn something that contradicts your beliefs, don't turn it down right away. Look at it with a critical eye and search for more proof, and then decide your opinion.
Hi everyone, and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Elsie.
And today we're going to talk about something called the backfire effect. Now it sounds as though it's something to do with a gun, and maybe that's where the name came from, but this is actually something that happens when you argue with someone.
When you argue?
Yeah, it's kind of why arguing with people, especially online, doesn't work very often. Let's check it out and find out more. The article starts by giving a fairly common thing that you might experience. It says, we often see this situation. Someone presents proof that goes against another person's beliefs. So someone believes something and you go, look, here's proof that what you believe is wrong. That's what happens. Now, when we talk about proof, we're talking about evidence, some kinds of facts or picture, something that makes it very clear that a fact is either true or false, or confirms that a situation either did or definitely didn't happen. So we might say, for example, the police think the man killed his business partner, but they have no proof.
They have no proof 代表他们就没有证明这件事情的存在。所以呢，当你要问别人说 Do you have any proof that 后面加上子句的话呢，那就是你有证据来证明某件事吗？好，所以呢，我们的 proof P-R-O-O-F 它是一个名词，代表证明证据。那动词呢是 prove P-R-O-V-E 等一下呢我们会再对这个字做更多的解释。
So you've given somebody proof that says what they believe is wrong or false. But as the article says, rather than listen to the facts and change their mind, the second person rejects the evidence. Now, if you reject something, you just deny it. You say, that's either not true, I don't believe it, or you just say, I refuse to accept it. To reject somebody or something could also be just to say no to them. Like, you ask somebody out, hey, do you want to get some coffee, go on a date? They just say, I'm sorry, you're not my type. Or you try and get a job somewhere and they just say, I'm sorry, we've gone with someone else. For example, we might say, the company rejected my job application, so I'll have to apply somewhere else.
Reject 这个动词呢是拒绝、否决或是不赞同，主动跟被动的用法都很常见。那这里啊，拒绝的是什么呢？不赞同的是 evidence， 也就是证据这个字。那你一定会问，到底 evidence 跟 proof 有什么不一样？那简单来说呢，在所有的 evidence 是证据都备齐之后，你就有了 proof 来证明某事为真。所以啊，我们可以说 proof 是所有 evidence 的总结。
So this person rejects your facts, and then the article says they may even feel more strongly about their existing beliefs. So you've just shown them some proof. No, you're wrong. This shows you're wrong. And in fact, the other person says, well, now I believe I'm right even more strongly.
Okay, they believe themselves more.
Yeah, or they believe their wrong belief. Now, I mean, this sounds basically like any kind of political argument at all ever, because you say, no, your party's wrong, this didn't happen. And they say, well, if you say that, I definitely believe it did happen. And nobody changes their mind about politics ever. Now, we see in the article, this common error in thinking is called the backfire effect. So, there we go. That's what this article is about. But what is backfire?
Backfire 你看字面呢，你就会知道它的解释哈。它呢解释为适得其反或是逆火。所以呢，我们在说服别人的时候，要小心有这个效应会发生。这个效应就叫做逆火效应，它是会造成反效果的。
So a backfire with a gun would be you're trying to shoot somebody else, but you end up, it shoots you. It kind of fires out the back of the gun. It causes some kind of accident, that kind of thing. So in trying to get somebody to change their mind, you've in fact made them believe that thing even more strongly. So why does this happen? The article explains...When people see others presenting conflicting proof as challenging their beliefs, they usually react negatively. So they say, you're challenging what I believe, you're saying I'm wrong, then I don't like that at all. And that's kind of natural. You don't like to be wrong. Nobody wants that.
But there's proof.
Yeah, but
still.
Yeah, it's just nobody likes to say, okay, I was wrong, especially about something they believe very strongly.So they don't like conflicting proof or evidence. Something that is conflicting will either contrast with or oppose something else pretty directly. If you think it's left and somebody has a conflicting opinion, they'll say, no, we need to turn right to go to the restaurant. If you say, it's going to rain tomorrow, and you say, no, the weather forecast says it's going to be sunny, well, that's conflicting information. Here's another sentence. The two friends get along well,But they have conflicting opinions about politics.
Conflicting 这个形容词呢，就是矛盾的、相抵触的或是冲突的。所以呢，我们在例句里面看到的 conflicting opinions， 那就是冲突的意见。那是对于什么冲突的意见呢 ？About something， 好，你可以用介系词 about 在接出这个主题。那另外呢，冲突这个字啊，如果是名词的话呢，它是 conflict。Conflict between two people， 那就是两人之间的冲突或是分歧。那动词也是这样子拼，好，它的重音是在不一样的位置。
So yeah, when you tell somebody, no, you're wrong, and here's proof that you're wrong, they usually react negatively. To react means to respond to something, and that something has already happened. You are giving your response, your reaction, that's the noun form to it.You are, for example, saying something back after somebody said something, or you hear some news and you feel surprised or angry or sad. That's how you're reacting. That's your reaction. Here's an example sentence using it as the verb. When I asked Sally out on a date, she reacted by laughing.
So was that a yes or no?I'm
not sure, because it was a bit of a nervous laugh, so maybe she was just very embarrassed by it. She didn't say no, she just ran off laughing, so I'm giving up.
OK, 所以那个就是它的反应。那反应的动词呢，就是 react。好，那如果呢你后面加上 negatively， 那就是 react negatively， 做出负面的反应。那如果是做出正面的反应呢，就是 react positively。那你要对某事物或某人的说法做出回应的话You react to something. 好，那名词形式呢？刚 Pat 也有提到，就是 reaction.
So let's give you an example of this backfire effect so you can understand more how it works. The article says, for instance, or for example, someone might not believe climate change is real, which seems weird because it's definitely happening and it's definitely proved, but there are still some people who deny it.So then the article says, when shown studies and data, they still don't believe the truth.
Okay.
So the article then says, in fact, they reject the evidence and stick to their beliefs even more than before. There we go. That's the backfire effect. When you stick to something, you continue doing something or you continue using something,even though it's maybe now more difficult or more challenging and it would be easier to, say, give up. If your job's getting more difficult, the pressure's getting higher and you go, no, I'm going to stick to my job for now. then that means you're going to stay there even though it's a bit of a tough time right now. You're not going to quit.
Stick to something 那就是坚守好某件事情。那 to 这边呢，它是一个介系词哦，好，所以后面呢你要加上的是名词。所以这篇课文说到的是提出证据佐证之后，可能会使得原本反对的人更加反对。那这个就是我们这一课在说的 the backfire effect 逆火效应的例子。
So then what do? What do you get people who've got what you think of as wrong opinions to change their minds? Well, it's not easy. The article says changing other people's beliefs is difficult, but not impossible. So what do you need to do? Well, here's one thing you shouldn't do. Stating more facts to prove the person wrong won't help.Prove
这边就是动词了哈 ，prove 哈，它是证明。那 prove that 后面加上子句就是证明某事为真。那如果呢你要向某人证明某事 ，you prove something to somebody. So how can we change someone else's beliefs?
Well, yeah, not by fact, because if they rejected the first facts, they'll likely reject the second set of facts as well. They'll just we say there's a word entrench, E-N-T-R-E-N-C-H. It means you kind of stay in your hole and you don't get out and you say, I'm going to defend this spot for as long as possible.
Even if it's wrong.
Even if it's wrong, you're just defending yourself like a soldier just saying, I'm not going to leave this post, I'm going to keep fighting.
Then we should just give up on them.
Well, that's one way, but there are other ways. The article says, instead, ask the other person questions that make them reevaluate what they believe. So you don't say, here, you're wrong, look at the facts. You say, well, if that's what you think, here's a question for you to think about, not right now, on your own time. And they'll reevaluate it, which means to evaluate something means to think in detail about it. So reevaluate is think about it again. So, and why do we do this? Provide evidence, or how do we do this rather? Provide evidence in a way that allows people to think in a critical way, not an emotional one. So when we talk about critical, it means they're thinking with their head rather than their heart. They're thinking maybe when they're in a calmer mood instead of in an angry, emotional mood. Because emotional here means showing strong emotions. Could be sadness, could be anger, and it's sometimes in a way that other people think is unnecessary. If someone gets a bit too emotional over something that they feel really sad or really angry and you think, well, this isn't that big a deal, this is not important, we might say, try not to be so emotional. Try and think about this more critically, think about it more logically or rationally. So if here's an example sentence with emotional. When one character died near the end of the movie, I felt very emotional.
Emotional 形容词，情绪激动的。那这个字啊，它也有激起强烈情感的意思。比如说呢，你用它来形容 speech。An emotional speech 那就是一个激起众人强烈情感的演说。好，或者是一个议题，一个 issue。好，如果能够激发，比如说公众强烈情感，你也可以用 emotional 来形容它。那另外呢 ，emotional 还有精神上的、情感上的，像是呢 emotional support， 好，就是你给人的一个精神上的支持。那名词形式呢是 emotion， 好，它指的就是你的情绪、情感。那再来呢，我们在这一句当中还看到 critical 这个形容词。它指的是批判性的，所以呢 critical thinking 我们说批判性思考，所以课文说到呢，相反的，如果只是激起他人情绪化的反应，那这说服的过程可能就是无效的了。
So the article says, this way, meaning if you give them evidence and facts that allows them to think critically, not emotionally, this way, they'll have the chance to reach a new conclusion on their own. So you don't make them agree with you. You say, go away, think about it, spend some time thinking and reading and learning about it, and then we'll see if you change your mind. They will reach a new conclusion. The conclusion is the ending of something. Now, it could be the end of a movie, the conclusion of a movie, but what we mean here is the kind of final realization, the final decision that you make when you've considered all the different facts you've had. Okay, I've listened to this side, I've listened to that side, I've checked all the evidence, I've learned for myself, and I've come up with my final thought. That's your conclusion. For example, The boss listened to everyone's idea before coming to the conclusion that Stephanie's plan was the best one.
Conclusion 这个名词就是结论，那我们可以搭配 reach 这个动词 reach a conclusion 那就是得出结论，也可以用 come to a conclusion 好，它是一样的意思。那后方呢你加上 that 以及一个子句就可以说明你这个结论的内容是什么。那如果你今天看到的是 jump to a conclusion 那就是草率的下结论，那它的动词形式呢是 conclude 这个动词哦。
So that's how you might be able to get somebody to change their mind. But something else to remember, as the article says, don't let the backfire effect influence you either. So yeah, we can all have a wrong belief about something. As the article says, when you learn something that contradicts your beliefs, don't turn it down right away.
Contradict 这个动词呢是与点点点相矛盾或是与点点点抵触。那形容词呢我们要一起学起来哈，我们在字尾加上 ory contradictory 这个形容词就是矛盾的，可以用来形容像是人们不同的想法啦 ideas 或是意见 advice 都可以用它来说。所以呢我们课文说到这儿在讲的是当你得知与自己信念抵触的事情的时候，不要立刻拒绝它。
And that phrasal verb in the sentence, turn something down, just means the same as the word we used earlier, reject something. You refuse something. You say no, you ignore it, you just say, no, not interested. That is turn something down.
是的，就是我们学到的 reject， 好，也可以用 turn something down 来说，就是拒绝的意思。
And the conclusion to this article is look at it, this new fact, with a critical eye and search for more proof, and then decide your opinion.
And always be open-minded.
Exactly. We don't know everything. We can get things wrong. And it's no shame if you get something wrong. It just means you maybe didn't learn enough. But there's always time to learn more. So let's move on to today's For You Chat question, which is, talk about a time in your life when you saw the backfire effect happen. What was it about?
Oh, it happens a lot when people are talking about politics here in Taiwan.
Well, not just Taiwan. In the UK, definitely in the US.
Right?
Yeah. You can have sports gets this a lot.
That happens a lot in the UK, right?
I think any sport, there's a decision that the referee in a game has made, and you're not some people say, oh yeah, that was a foul, that shouldn't be a goal, disallow it. And the other people are saying, no way, it's definitely a goal. And I don't care how many replays you show me, it was a goal, even if the replay shows this. So it's that's kind of a fun one that doesn't really matter in the end, just a disagreement over sports. But I've seen it with all kinds of decisions and all kinds of situations. You can show somebody the numbers.
Also about some diets. Like if your diet is good for your health or if mine is better, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's just any opinion, anything that's worked for somebody but doesn't for somebody else. You're never going to really get people to change their mind very quickly. It takes time. But that's all the time we have for today's article. Thanks for listening, everybody. For English For You, I'm Pat.
I'm Elsie.
And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Proof. The video shows proof that this man stole some valuable items from the store. Reject. Grace was offered a job at Tom's company, but she rejected it because the pay was too low. Conflicting. The report contained a great deal of conflicting data, which makes it difficult to understand the truth. React. When the fire alarm rang, everyone reacted quickly by lining up and moving toward the nearest exit. Emotional. In the meeting, Oliver got emotional about the new policy changes and shouted that he would leave the company. Conclusion. We examined the cause of the project's failure, and our conclusion was that it was badly planned.
智慧小补帖
Evidence. Backfire. Critical. contradict.